Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. I don't know about you, but when I think of Mathew Brady, the groundbreaking photojournalist, and his Civil War photography, I think of Antietam, the battlefield with the dead soldiers spread out across it. I think of Gettysburg and the various scenes of death and destruction, and it's fitting that we should do so. They've been part of the American public, our visualization, the documentation of the war since the war itself. When those images were taken, not long after those images were taken, they made their way across the country, first in New York and Washington, and then later reproduced, mass produced photographs that spread across the country, bringing the war right into the homes of Americans. Such a startling development enabled by photography and technology and mass production was unheard of and unimaginable at that time. And yet it happened. And reviewers had a lot to say about it. But as much as we think about those photographs of Antietam and Gettysburg, Brady's earlier experiment is also worthy of note. In 1862, in the spring of 1862, he he submitted or sent his photographers, including Alexander Gardner and James Gibson, down the peninsula as part of that campaign covering it. Images like this view of Yorktown was among the many images, the many glass negatives that they made, later reproduced as albumin prints, large format and smaller format as cartes de visite. As I was researching the Peninsula Campaign today, I came across this review and I want to share it with you now. It was published in the New York Evening Post on July 22nd, 1862. That's just a few weeks after the Battle of Malvern Hill, the culminating battle of the Peninsula Campaign. This review really speaks volumes to the impact of photography, the reason that we hold these images so dear today, the power and the strength of these images. What we feel today, our fellow Americans felt in 1862. And here's this review. It has a great title, The Battlefield Brought Home. So here we go. If we could imagine some soothsayer of old saying to the people of Rome when their armies were gone forth to the battle in distant lands, "Come to me, and I will show you your soldiers on the field of battle. I will show them to you in their armor and with their gleaming helmets flashing to the sun, as when they marched upon the battlefield. I will show you the very rock from which our great imperator harangued his troops near the Rubicon. I will show you the very trees beneath which this general and that soldier met his death. And then let him proceed to display his promised skill to the teeming multitudes, and let history record the fact that he kept his promise and did as he said he would. If we could imagine all this, what not such a story be read at the present day with amused incredulity, and be classed only with the oracles and other pompous humbugs of antiquity? Yet this is just what is now taking place in our city. The soothsayer is Brady the photographer, and the Rome is at his gallery, corner of Broadway and 10th Street. The wonderful series of pictures he there exhibits are certainly foremost among the triumphs of photographic art. His artists have followed our army from Bull Run to Richmond, and at the recent retreat to the James River, one of them lost his photographic apparatus. They have taken pictures of the principal battlefields and officers and incidents of the war in Virginia, and these pictures, neatly mounted and disposed on screens, are now on exhibition at Brady's. A series of cartes de visite have also been prepared from the originals for albums. Every battlefield of the present, as of every war, has its national history. But besides this, There is a private interest felt by different individuals in these places. For in one a brother fell, in another a lover lost an arm, and in others friends and relatives have fought bravely and come out unhurt. Of these places, Brady's carts give a better idea than volumes of description could do. Here, for instance, is a view of the soldiers' graves at Bull Run, a dark, gloomy field by a briar shaded stream with sticks and bits of stone stuck up to mark the soldiers' last resting place. Here is a gateway to Yorktown, a rude work of wood flanked by a rude wall, a sort of caricature on the gates and walls of old York in England. Here is a battery near Yorktown with gloomy, death dealing mortars crouched behind a protective earthwork. Here is the entrance to Cornwallis's cave, converted into a magazine by the Confederates. Here, a view of one of the batteries on York River, curiously constructed of wood, clay, and sandbags. Here, the plain outline of the Sudley Church at Bull Run, afterwards used as a hospital. Then there are views from the interior of the fortifications of Centerville, showing the Quaker guns placed there by the rebels exactly as they were found by our troops. There are camp views showing the headquarters of our different generals and giving a vivid idea of tent life. Everybody is interested in the exploits of our different generals and would like to see them personally. At Brady's, the imperial photographs taken from life will give the best idea that can be obtained of Heintzelman, McClellan, McDowell, Keyes, Sumner, Fremont, Halleck, Pope, and others whose names are in everybody's mouth. These generals are taken both in groups with their staffs and singly, and all together their pictures make a portrait gallery the most interesting, for this period at least, that could be formed. Brady's entire exhibition proves that art and science can be kept fully up to the times and made to possess a special interest for the hour as well as a general value. I loved reading that. It's just almost pure poetry. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did reading it. We'll see you next time on the trail.